We pray in Salah, right? Where you see brothers and brothers fighting for money and property. Sisters, brothers, fathers, children. Look at our Prophet ﷺ. 1400 years ago he said, I don't fear that you guys will do shirk, assign partners to Allah. But my fear is you will envy your brother and your sister for worldly things. When they have these worldly accomplishments, you will envy it.
Assalamu alaikum. Allah gives hikmat, wisdom, to whomsoever He wills. And whomsoever is given wisdom is certainly given a lot of good. Only the people of understanding will benefit from the reminder. Tune in to Alhikmat TV for khutbahs, lectures, and Islamic reminders. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah is the creator of different faces. Allah is the creator. Allah, Allahu, 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 Allah. Allahu, 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 Allah. All praises are due to Allahu, Allah. All praises are due to Allahu, Allah. Allahu, 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 Allah. Allahu.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If you would like to dedicate copies of one of these publications as Sadaqah Jariyah, continuous blessings for your parents or dear ones who have passed away, or fi sabilillah, in the path of Allah, please give us a call so we can place your names on these dedicated publications. You can call us at 954-986-0158, or you can also visit us at www.alhikmat.com.
Allah is the creator of different faces. Allah is the creator of all races. Allahu, 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 Allah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
कोई कैसे समझ पाए गर्तबा सब्ज़ गुंबद का.
सलातुल्लाह सलामुल्लाह अला यासीन हबीबिल्लाह.
नजर में जमाले हबीबे खुदा, उनकी तस्वीर सीने में मौजूद है. या रब्बी, help me along my way.
What did Allah say? Tell them, don't say Amana, but say Aslamna. Iman is yet to enter your hearts. You have only accepted Islam.
Come bring your family and friends for this free night of powerfully packed talent on January 13th at 4:30 p.m. at the Baraka Grounds in Chikwanas. For more information, contact Alhikmat office at 325-8276. Food will be on sale, and of course admission is free. See you there, inshallah.
Wafiq Transport Limited. Contact 715-6463 or 673-0152. Located at 86 Orenfield Road, Karapi, Chima. Services include vacuum, septic services, stockpile, sand gravel, etc., trailers, heavy equipment for sale such as flatbeds, drop decks, container trailers, and lots more.
Southern Hatcheries Limited. Suppliers of both live and processed broiler chickens. Parts available in both tray packs and case bags to suit your needs. Leg and thighs, wings, liver and gizzard. Also suppliers of both live and processed ducks. All meats strictly halal. Visit us at 440 Komodo Road, Barrack Fort. or call us at 654-3938 or 361-08.
Ya Nabi, Salam Alayka, Ya Habib.
Bouncy Kings, Bouncy Castles presents brand new luxury castles for all events. You can contact us at telephone number 749-4342, or you can also email us at bouncykings1@gmail.com. A-Class Glamour presents to you wholesaling and retailing of premium lines of cosmetics for all skin types, designer jewelry, and many accessories. Brands include ColourPop, Maybelline, Revlon Professional, Urban Decay, Sephora, and many more. To get a hold of these products, you can call Sadiq Khan at 345-5824 or Amira Khan at 759-6089. You can also visit our Facebook page at A-Class Glamour to follow for newly released lines of products.
सारे जहां को दीन मिला बेदीनों ने कलमा पढ़ा ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह.
If you'd like to advertise or be a sponsor of this show, please contact Alhikmat office. Telephone number 1954-986-0158 or 1-868-325-8276. Or you can email us at alhikmat@alhikmat.com.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Who is Who on Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. It is indeed a pleasure for us to have in Alhikmat studio a very prominent person in South Florida, nationwide, and a man who has traveled all over the world, east, west, north, and south. So welcome to the show, Dr. Mark David Luthier. Did I got that correct?
You did indeed. Thank you very much.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you with us in our Hikmat studio. And for our audience, we got a worldwide audience. Nowadays, the internet in itself is worldwide, but we got a lot of viewers from all over the world. And I'm sure you viewers out there will definitely enjoy this conversation. You will learn a lot from Dr. David, professor. He is a professor at the Lynn University here in South Florida, basically Boca Raton.
Exactly.
And you're going to hear a lot more from him, so let me ask Dr. David to do the talking. I will just ask some of the questions that you, the people out there, would be interested to know about his background, his experience, his knowledge.
Very good.
So once more, thank you very much for taking the time off.
Oh, the pleasure is mine.
To be part of this show,
I'm
Dr.
happy to
David.
be here. You're welcome. And David's my middle name, but I like you using that. That's nice.
Yeah, I think
First name is Mark, but yes, good to be here.
You got all the names, Mark, David.
Exactly.
You're a professor, a doctor.
Yeah.
Originally, where are you from?
So it's a very unusual and interesting background. I obviously look very Caucasian, I realize, and so most
I would think you're from Louisiana, not Louisiana, sorry, Indiana or New York.
Right. So actually, I like to tell people I'm from Tokyo, Japan. I mean, that is what feels probably the most affinity in my heart for, in terms of a location that I would call home. And the reason is I was born and raised in Asia, in Japan. It's an unusual story, as I said, because my parents are actually from this country. So
what part of this country?
Midwest. My mother's from Iowa, farm girl. My father grew up in the Twin Cities in Minnesota.
Wow.
And I ended up being born and raised in Japan because they spent 40 years of their life in ministry as missionaries in the Lutheran Church in Japan.
That is interesting.
It is because, I mean, when you think about the background behind how that happened, it would be nothing short of a miracle. My father fought in World War II, and he was in the Battle of Iwo Jima, which, if you know your history at all, it's one of the most bloodiest battles in the Pacific. He was severely wounded. He convalesced for, I think, nearly a year. And after that, or during that time, he had this sort of awakening or epiphany, realizing that rather than just fighting and killing each other and viewing the Japanese only as enemies, he wanted to go back and do something better for them. So at that time, General Douglas MacArthur actually had issued a call saying, this country, once he was the Supreme Allied Commander in charge of the occupation in Tokyo, he actually issued a call back to this country saying, we need 2,000 missionaries in this country. And my father heard this, and having been, of course, an Army sergeant, he, in a sense, was following orders of the, Allied commander.
But he came from a religious background.
Very much so. Very much so.
That's why he would answer to a call like that.
Yeah, but I always like to say it was dual. It was kind of related in some ways to his experience in World War II.
Yes.
But also because he came out of that very religious background. His mother was the church organist. His grandfather was a bishop in the Lutheran church. So my parents met and got married. He went on to seminary, was ordained as a Lutheran pastor, went back to Japan as a missionary. And then I arrived.
Wow. You are such an ideal person to be on this show, Who is Who in America, because you are really who is who in America, born in Japan.
Exactly. I always tell people I'm a Caucasian Asian, or I have a
so you
Caucasian.
Speak Japanese, fluently.
もちろん日本語わかります。英語より日本語の方が得意かもしれないですよ。
So what would you call Japanese? Would you call it your mother tongue? No.
No.
Your mother tongue is English.
I would say I'm almost perfectly bilingual because I spoke English in the home with my parents from the moment of my birth. So I don't have an accent because I spoke English from that moment.
Because they spoke English.
They spoke English in the home.
In Japan.
Yes.
Yeah.
However, all of my schooling and upbringing and my friends and all of that at that early age was in Japanese. So I would dream in Japanese.
So let me ask you,
Japanese.
What is your nationality? American citizen or Japanese?
Well, of course it's
Dual.
an American. No, I wish I could be dual, but the Japanese are not quite so amenable to that. They would force me to be one or the other.
Oh.
So I can't have dual citizenship.
No, it's interesting to know that.
Right.
Because I would just imagine you pitching up somewhere and the immigration officer looks at your passport and sees Japanese and say, hey, what's going on?
Well, what happens to me quite often actually is they do see on my passport that I was born in Japan, Kyoto, Japan. And they look at me and they say, but you don't look Japanese. And of course I say, well, no, obviously I was born there because my parents were living there at the time.
Yes.
But I'm a U.S. citizen.
Yeah. Well, automatically because your parents were U.S. citizens.
True, but oddly enough, if you were overseas and born on, shall we say, foreign soil, they have to apply for that citizenship. So my citizenship was granted by the Secretary of State at the time. My wife is in the same position as I am, born and raised by missionary parents in Japan. Her document was signed by Henry Kissinger, saying that, yes, she's granted citizenship.
You got an interesting background. We're going to definitely invite you back on this show to talk some other things.
Sure.
So tell us a little bit, now that you are here in South Florida, how many years now have you been in South Florida?
About 15, coming up on 16 years.
And where were you before?
So prior to that, I was teaching on the faculty at St. Mary's College, which is affiliated with Notre Dame in Indiana. Prior to that, I was on the faculty in Tokyo at a college teaching in Japanese. And prior to that, I was doing my PhD in religious studies at Notre Dame. And I've lived and traveled in various parts of the world, so I have a very international background.
Excellent. So you got a PhD in religious studies.
Correct.
And that is what you teach at Lynn University.
That is correct.
In South Florida.
Yes, that is correct.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
What motivated you to come to Florida and to work at Lynn University?
So oddly enough, I was a trailing spouse at the time, to be quite honest about this.
I should be asking you, what does your wife do for you to be a trailing spouse?
Well, she's an academic as well. She
Yes.
actually is on the faculty at the Catholic Seminary in Boynton Beach, St. Vincent de Paul. She's also a professional musician for the Catholic Church. So she is an organist, she plays piano, harp, flute, and she was asked to come down to Boca Raton to St. Joan of Arc Catholic Church to take the position of music director. In the meantime, she took a position at the Catholic Seminary as a professor of language and music. So I was, at the time, teaching at St. Mary's College. She was offered this position, and I kind of together with her said, you know what, let's do this. And one of the reasons was the Midwest is very homogenous, as you can imagine. I'm sure you've traveled there.
Of course. Yeah.
And where I was teaching,
Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know, you're really talking about two individuals, my wife and I, who were born and raised over in a international environment, and we were living in Indiana, feeling very much like this is a very kind of homogenous, myopic, narrow worldview.
Yes.
We came down and looked at the position that was being offered to my wife. I looked around at the different positions that might turn up for me. Lynn happened to be one, and realized that South Florida is much more comfortable for us because of its international, diverse population and a variety of religious traditions and backgrounds that are represented here. I teach comparative religion. In Indiana, when I was teaching,
you had to be in a place where there is real comparative religion being lived by the people.
Precisely. Actually lived in the classroom.
You had to live in the classroom. And around.
And
yes.
around us, yes, precisely. So we feel comfortable. We're happy to be here.
Dr. Mark, that's exactly one of the reasons why I moved to Florida.
Is that right?
You know, I lived in the Caribbean.
Right.
I had an opportunity in different states in the United States of America, but based on the multicultural settings in South Florida, this attracted me.
Yes.
New York, the weather, the place being a little too clustered, that kind of threw me off, but I realized in Florida, you got more time, you got more days, you got a lot of expansion to do the kind of things we do.
Right.
What I mean, exactly what you said, in those other places, it's a little restricted. You don't have the vast culture and exposure and the people and the multicultural, multi-faith experience with people around you.
No, precisely.
And then New York now is a little clustered, the weather, so I love this here. And I suppose you loved it here, right?
Well, it has its challenges. I mean, any place has its beauty and its benefit, and then of course you're going to have challenges that come with that. I think for me, yes, it's absolutely marvelous to be in a place where you have the multicultural, multilingual. And again, I grew up bilingual, and so it was frustrating to not have that around me when I was, in my previous abode.
Yes.
Here, I like I said, I feel so much more at home being in a very international environment, just like Tokyo was.
A man of religion.
Yes.
A PhD in religion.
Yes.
Of course, you want to meet the people and see the people of the religion that you study.
Absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
is so healthy.
Yeah.
I think we'll have to probably make an arrangement to get your wife on the show
Oh,
one
sure.
day. Talk to her about her background, because she sounds very interesting also.
Oh, she is.
Especially with you trailing her.
Yep.
I mean, that's how it should be.
Well, listen, 38 years of marriage, you learn how to sometimes say yes, dear.
How to follow that trail, right?
But yeah, it's been 38 years, and we have 4 children and 3 grandkids, and
I really enjoy this experience, and I would really love to have you talk a little more about your religious experience and your experience with different students in your natural field and profession of teaching different students of different religions.
Right.
I know we could get into that, the experience, the learning experience from their side, your side, because, studying religion in the book is a different thing to meeting the people themselves.
You're
and
absolutely
how they think and how they live.
Yes.
But what I would like our viewers to hear a little more today on this show, Professor Mark, Dr. Mark, is your travels throughout the world, how it all happened.
Right. Okay. So I grew up traveling, obviously, because I was born in Asia. And we would travel. We would come back to the States. We would go various places. I remember my father taking us through actually the Holy Land, through Jerusalem and those places when I was only 6 years old. So it made an impact on me, and then traveling across through Europe as well in a little VW. So I grew up with this model that the world was my home. Not a particular country, though I, of course, was aware of my citizenship, or not a particular language, though, of course, I spoke English with my parents. But the scope was always very broad, so that we, as children, grew up with our parents instilling within us this understanding that we're all God's creatures. We may understand things differently, we may express things in unique ways. They were passionate in their missionary work for who they were as, Christian missionaries, but it was never at the expense of the dignity or the humanity of others around them.
And that brings me to your quote that you have on this bio here.
Yes.
To be a child of Abraham is to learn to respect the other children of Abraham.
That's right.
That is so unique.
Yes.
Even if their way is not ours.
Yes.
Their covenant not ours, their understanding of God different from ours. Our common humanity must precede our religious differences.
Absolutely.
I mean, God has really chosen you and blessed you in this field.
Well, in fairness, that is a quote from Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, who wrote a seminal work called Not in God's Name. It's about really overcoming religious intolerance. And I put this on my bio because it captures my own passion. This is what we need. This is what the world needs.
And Abraham had been mentioned in the Bible, in the Quran, in the Torah, in the Psalms, as that blessed, and that blessed one that God guided and blessed. And I mean, from my little Christian learning, even Jesus, peace be upon him, referred to Abraham, the blessed one, and people living their life and adopting that lifestyle of the blessed Abraham, who was blessed by God and chosen by God.
Well, in fact,
powerful.
One of the wonderful things about Abraham, as I look at his life and as it's portrayed in the sacred scriptures, is that he is, I think, a model of tolerance, a model of faith, a model of being able to come into a new land. God tells him to pick up and leave where he is, and then he comes into the new land, the blessed land, and he is able to live peacefully with those around him who don't necessarily think in the same way that he does.
I like that statement. A man of tolerance.
Yes.
I mean, what best? He lived in those two different lands, different people. Look at his children.
Right.
And to add to it, the two different wives that made a whole big impact, Hagar and Sarah.
Right.
I mean, that was an interesting thing in his life.
Yes.
I mean, that takes us into the depth of the scriptures.
That's true.
But that's a lot of tolerance, what he had to go through.
Absolutely.
God, and go away and leave with one wife and the child, and the other wife is jealous, and the other one wants to know what is. I mean, he was really blessed.
Well, I also see him as a unifier, because when he passes, we have Ishmael and Isaac coming together to bury their father.
Oh, wow.
And that is such a powerful moment when these two brothers, lost to each other for a period of time, finally come back, because Abraham, in his death, unfortunate, but he is able to then impart his blessing, as it were, to both, of these.
With your experience, Dr. Mark, and your travel to Jerusalem, to India, to Europe, to the Middle East, Asia, when you look at the sort of disunity, misunderstanding in the world, especially amongst Muslims, Christians, and Jews, and you look at the life of Abraham, I'm sure you're probably baffled as to why don't these people understand who was Abraham.
I am, and yet I always tell my students. Am I making sense
by saying that to you?
No. I always say it's of all traditions, these three Abrahamic religions share the common core that should bring us together. But I say, the fact is, it's almost a parallel to the kind of family squabbles we have in the back seat of the car, going down I-95, and the brother pinches the sister, or the sister says this to the brother, and we end up having this family squabble. So those you are closest to are often those that we have the most difficulty getting along with. That's my thesis
And that's
or
the sad
theory.
thing,
It is.
That's so sad.
Doesn't need to be that way.
Because, you know, it's as you have been to Jerusalem.
Yes.
It's the same land.
Yeah.
The same
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
You look at that Jerusalem mosque and the Wailing Wall.
Right.
And the place of Jesus, peace be upon him, where
Yes.
his tomb is.
Yeah.
And, you know, all the whole 9 yards around
Right.
the Bible and
Right.
Jesus and the Jews and the Muslims and Solomon. It's not really in one country, it's in one, and not just one land, it's in one spot.
Right.
You
right.
put a whole wall around them, and you go on this door, and you're
Right.
at the what you call the Wailing Wall. You come out at the next exit.
Yeah.
It's the
And you're
tomb of Jesus.
You're
where
very
he
close to the
rose.
Church of the Holy Sepulchre. You're exactly
Yes,
right.
You come to the next exit, and
Yeah.
it's the
Yep.
the mosque.
Yep. Yeah. You know,
One
I had
people.
I had the opportunity to study in the Middle East on my sabbatical, which I'll get to in a moment. But I was there for 2 months, Sheikh, and I saw firsthand, I experienced firsthand what truly the sacred, you know, land is about. And what I came away feeling was this really is like the navel or epicenter or the cradle of birth for our 3 Abrahamic faiths. And it's the place of all places we should find a way
Of course.
to express the unity.
I think we need to do another
Yeah.
show now on
Yeah.
that Abrahamic faith.
Yeah.
And the better understanding of the people in the world
Yeah.
on Abrahamic faiths. Because,
Right.
you know, I mean, it is sad to know
Yeah.
that especially,
Yeah.
I mean, Jews, Christian, Muslims, in America, people criticizing each other,
Right.
treating the other as an outcast, an outlaw. Where did you Jews come from?
Right.
Where did you Christians come from? Where did you Muslims come from?
Right.
And we all came from the same children of
Exactly.
Abraham.
Exactly. No, exactly
I
right.
mean,
no, that's
it's a
why
lack
this
of
quote,
education.
to be a child of Abraham is to learn to respect the other children of Abraham. We are
Yes.
all children of Abraham. Yeah. So,
I think we need to do some more things on educating people on this topic.
absolutely, which is partly why I have passion about being a professor, is I really feel I am instilling into the next generation
Yes.
the hope
Yes.
for our world. Otherwise, our world won't be left,
Of course.
you know, in one piece, because we will be so intolerant of each other.
No, you're right.
And we
because
won't
those
understand
are
each
the
other.
future presidents and doctors and lawyers
Absolutely.
and mayors
Yeah.
and government
Yes.
officials. And they're the ones who need to understand this so they know how to live in
Absolutely.
the community. Well, you know, we have been speaking for approximately 20 minutes now.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yes, 20 minutes.
It goes fast.
So we're going to go on a commercial break.
Okay.
When we get back, we're going to talk about your book.
Okay.
And what's the name of the book?
Pathways to Peace.
Pathways to Peace.
Right.
So just for viewers, take notes, stay tuned, don't leave. We're going to come back after this short break, and we're going to talk about this book that has been written by Dr. Mark David Lucio on Pathways to Peace. We're going to talk about his sabbatical, his experience, his travel, his research in the Muslim, Islamic, Asian, Hindu, international religions, world of religions, and his learnings and his teachings. So stay tuned. When we get back, we'll continue this conversation.
Thank you.
We praise Allah, right? Well, you see brothers and brothers fighting for money and property. Sisters, brothers, fathers, children. Look at our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. 1400 years ago, he said, I don't fear that you guys will do shirk, assign partners to Allah. But my fear is you will envy your brother and your sister for worldly things. When they have these worldly accomplishments, you will envy it.
Assalamu alaikum. Allah gives hikmat, wisdom, to whomsoever He wills. And whomsoever is given wisdom is certainly given a lot of good. Only the people of understanding will benefit from the reminder. Tune in to Alhikmat TV for khutbahs, lectures, and Islamic reminders. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah is the creator of different faces. Allah is the creator. Allah, Allahu, 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 Allah. Allahu, 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 Allah. All praises are due to Allahu, Allah. All praises are due to Allahu, Allah. Allahu, 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 Allah, Allahu.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If you would like to dedicate copies of one of these publications as Sadaqah Jariyah, continuous blessings for your parents or dear ones who have passed away, or fi sabilillah, in the path of Allah, please give us a call so we can place your names on these dedicated publications. You can call us at 954-986-0158, or you can also visit us at www.alhikmat.com.
Allah is the creator of different faces. Allah is the creator of all races. Allahu, 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 Allah.
Welcome back to Who is Who in America on Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. Once more again, it's a pleasure to have with us in Alhikmat studio Dr. Mark David Lucio. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
I know we had a wonderful conversation before we went on the break. You know, it's so interesting to know one another, to understand one another, and I'm sure our viewers worldwide would definitely learn a lot from you.
Thank you.
So before we lose out on time,
Yes.
and on our socializing conversation,
Yes.
tell us a little bit about your book on Pathways to Peace and how this led you to go on this 6-month sabbatical journey,
Yes.
learning, research, some of the countries you have been to.
Right.
I would like you to share that with our viewers.
Absolutely. This has always been a dream of mine, to build bridges between the religious traditions rather than the barriers and walls we so often erect. So in my teaching, it's always been my passion to find ways to do this, both in the classroom, but also in the community and in the larger world. A year or two now ago, I proposed this as a sabbatical to the university that I'm currently teaching at.
Lynn University.
Lynn,
Okay.
in Boca Raton. And by the way, not many people have heard of this university, but it is famous for one thing at least, and that is we had the presidential debate there between Obama and Mitt Romney a few years ago now.
Yes,
But it was
yes.
the last of the debates on international,
Listen, if you got a presidential debate at the university,
Yeah.
that's prominent enough.
It's something to be proud of.
And it's a sign of a different level of thinking.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
So I'm proud to be affiliated with that university.
And I must say, Dr. David,
Yes.
my once or twice visit there by your invitation
Right.
to Lynn University, I hope I don't sound biased, but I really did see a whole difference. Something goes on.
Right.
The soberness, if I want to put that word, is a little different to my walking into other universities.
Oh, good.
I don't know why, if I'm wrong in what I see, maybe the time I came, but but you know what? Some other universities you walk in and you're like, are these going to be the future presidents and doctors of this country?
Right.
And then I did see by you, the students were a little more respectful when I drove in the parking lot.
Very good.
I saw people looked a little different.
Right.
The atmosphere, the environment,
Yes.
the teachers, the professors has a
Right.
lot to do
Right.
with the students.
Well, thank you. I hope I'm credit to the future of...
Thank you very much. It's a blessing. Thank you.
The university is a unique place because we have over 100 different nationalities represented there. So it's very international.
Good,
Which is
good.
one of the things that really attracted me to teaching there as well, because I have in my classroom then people from around the world. It's almost like a mini United Nations. And we have the different religious traditions that are represented by them as well.
Good.
So back to the book and the sabbatical, I proposed a sabbatical that would allow me to take a half a year from my teaching responsibilities, with my salary still being in place, so that I wouldn't be a burden on my family in any way.
Right.
And in addition, they competitively selected my proposal to offer a research grant, which allowed me to actually travel between 50 and 100,000 miles over a 6-month time, circumnavigating the globe a few times, actually.
That
going
is
to
interesting.
all the different places.
You've really been around the globe.
I have, literally, a few times over. And,
Yes, yes.
and this will be interesting. I only took one small backpack with only one change of clothes. because I wanted to see if I could live simply. For me, that was a pathway to peace.
So when you went to India, they probably thought you were a hippie or something.
No, they thought I was a sadhu.
Oh
they
my
said,
goodness.
They said, are you a sannyasin? Are you a renouncer? Are you a holy man?
So you mean, because they couldn't imagine you were this doctor and professor from a university in America.
Right, right. And of course, you know, I've trimmed my beard since then,
Yes.
but I had let all my hair grow.
No, you're kidding.
No, because I had been with the Sikhs and they said, your hair is holy. And I said, okay, I won't cut it then. And then I had spent time with the, you know, the Dalai Lama's monastery in Dar es Salaam.
So you have been to Jerusalem, the Dalai Lama.
Yes.
Amritsar with the Sikhs. You have been
Varanasi.
in Egypt. You have been in Varanasi.
I was in Calcutta, Mother Teresa's grave. I was in Goa. You know, I was in Chennai. I was in China. I climbed the Huangshan Mountains for Taoism. I spent time in Japan, of course. I then was in Eastern Europe to see the, you know, the Eastern Orthodox Church. I was in Moscow. Spent time in Rome. I was with Papa Francesco, Pope Francis, for Holy Week. I was in Spain, and that was fascinating because of the Moors and the tolerance that you could see there between the Muslim Jews and Christians during the Moorish Empire in places like Cordoba and Toledo. So I was really after looking at paradigms for tolerance. So what are the causes of the unrest that we have, the barriers that we erect between our religious systems? How can we get past this intolerance? And what are the paradigms for promoting peace?
So when you look at the tolerance in Spain with the Muslims and the Muslim leadership in those years and historic years, and you look at the history of Islam and the background of Prophet Abraham, I mean, what would you really tell people who blame Islam for being a terrorist religion because of some murderers and criminals? I mean, I call these extremists who kill people murderers. They are criminals. They are murderers.
Absolutely.
Whether they're from ISIS or they're from Al-Qaeda. But people who use them as a measurement or measuring tape to tarnish the entire religion, not knowing who or what is Islam and where it came from.
Absolutely. In fact,
it's people like you who got to clarify that, Dr.
Well, thank you. And that goes across every religious tradition, because you'll find the terrorists, if you will, in every religious tradition throughout different epochs of history. So it's very myopic for us to assume that only one religion has this underbelly or dark side to it. We've all used religion in different ways. It's even happening
now.
That's
a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, like look at the Buddhists in Myanmar today. Look at in our own country here, the Westboro Baptists and what they have done in the name of Christianity. It's horrible. Or certainly the whole Aryan nation kind of supremacy ideas and using Christianity as one of the backbones to that, or Nazi Germany, for instance, and the collusion of the church and as a part of that. Does this negate these religions? Not by any means.
No, it's the people.
Exactly. So you have to be able to distinguish between these, the people who are misusing the religion and the religion at its core. So, So what does the religion teach? And where are there examples of that central teaching being properly used, and you know, examples of the tolerance and the peaceful, you know, kind of bridge building that goes on in different periods of time is amply there. You can look at the Moors, as we just said, in Islam. You can certainly see that also. Al-Ghazali is the you know, the philosopher. You also have that with Maimonides, with the Jewish philosopher. You have this with different Christian philosophers as well, when there are periods of time when there is great tolerance. So we need to lift these up as examples.
As the, you know, the world really needs to understand that these people who used religion for wars and terrorism, it was all for their own whims and fancies, their own ego, their own political positions at times, and their own power ego. You know, it is a weakness of those people, not the religion.
No, precisely. So we need to take back our religious traditions. We need to reclaim it. I also have, I believe that it's important for each religious tradition to be able to do three things. And it needs to be able to do this within itself, or else we do run the danger of it becoming, shall we say, kind of fixed, fossilized, and intolerant. each religion has to do this within itself. It has to be able to be self-aware, so be able to really think deeply about their own faith, where they come from, what is at the heart of what we teach. I can't do that for a Muslim, but a Muslim can do it for themselves, and vice versa. So self-aware. The second is self-critiquing, so being able to be constructively able to critique where we've gone wrong.
Yes.
I hope a Christian is able to say, we no longer believe in slavery, even though our scriptures condone it. See? So be able to critique ourselves. But I can't have someone else say that about my religion. We have to say it ourselves.
It won't be practical. It will be true, but it won't be practical.
Precisely. So this is where it's delicate.
Yes.
The third is to be self-reforming. And we must be able to reform within our own tradition and saying, yeah, we in God's goodness, He's allowed us to correct these areas where maybe we have failed to see the full picture of what God is trying to teach us. And we do get astray. There are times that this happens. So self-aware, self-critiquing, constructively, of course, and self-reforming.
Yes.
This is what we need to be able to reclaim in our traditions.
And I think if all religions do that, we may have a more peaceful world.
Yes.
And we may live in a better and a happier environment, as opposed to attacking the other people, condemning the other people.
Right.
You know, that's really, really bad.
And I think when we do this on behalf of our own tradition, then we will learn to trust that tradition again. Even though we ourselves may not be of that tradition, we hear the goodness and the truth of that tradition. So we need Muslims, I always say, to speak up in this country.
And there are people who are speaking, but unfortunately, you know, media is all about business, and the bad things make more popularity. I mean, whether it's a president of a country, if he says something bad, that makes more news. When he says something good, that's you don't even hear about that. You got to go Google and learn that, and that's a sad thing. But we got to try, and that's what we're trying on Alhikmat TV.
That's why I'm here.
And thank you very much for coming. So when is your book, The Pathways to Peace, coming out?
Okay, well, that's of course the big question. I've written 350 pages.
Oh my goodness!
But that's all rough draft. It's rough draft, and I need to go back in and edit and fine tune it and make it presentable to the public.
So what are you looking at? Another year or two?
No, a year.
Another year. Good. In your travel, Dr. Mark, what was your experience like in Turkey and Egypt?
Oh,
I wanted to touch a little bit about Turkey and Egypt and maybe India or something. I don't know how much minutes we have again, but we are cutting it to five minutes plus or something like that.
Okay, all right. So I would say the 2 months I spent in the Middle East were very, transformative and really educational. I learned so much. I actually lived just outside the old city of Jerusalem as my home base. Okay. But I spent time in Turkey, in Egypt, in Jordan. I went all the way to the border of Syria and looked into Syria. It was a little dangerous, some of these places where I was. I didn't tell my wife was not with me, but I was with a group. And when we were actually in Egypt, I was able to climb Mount Sinai, where Moses received the Ten Commandments. And at the top were Jews, Christians, and Muslims praying. And I remember being hit with the realization that we are all one.
On the top of Mount Sinai, you saw Muslims and Jews praying.
Yes, and Christians, all three of us praying.
Wow.
There was this real sense of unity, a real sense of this is beyond any one tradition. Moses is someone important to us that we can all claim as a prophet, as a spiritual father.
Of course.
So it was powerful. Another occasion I had.
That's an interesting experience,
isn't it?
That's a real sign. Huh?
Yeah, it was. It was. The other was, and then the irony was 2 weeks later, ISIS or its affiliates tried to bomb St. Catherine's at the foot of the mountain there. I was gone, thankfully. I was no longer. But to get into Egypt, I had to sign a waiver saying I wasn't going to hold anyone responsible, and we had armed guards getting us down to Mount Sinai. I said it was a tense place, and as you know, there was just that bombing in the Sinai in the northern part in a mosque. Just so unfortunate, hundreds of people.
So sad.
So, but that's another example of people, co-opting their own religion and saying they speak on behalf of it when they don't.
That's what we call hijacking. They don't really get hijacking, but literally that's what they're trying to do.
They're holding it hostage.
Yeah,
it's terrible. Jerusalem. I prayed at the top of of King David's tomb. David the king, of course, of the Israelites, with Jews, Christians, and Muslims. So there are these small groups of people, pockets, who are trying to do something.
So you have been to Masjid al-Aqsa also, the
mosque. I was in the Masjid, I was in the
Al-Aqsa,
and I was inside the dome of the rock.
Yes,
I was at the Wailing Wall. I spent an entire night vigil in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and in the morning offered Mass as a deacon. I'm a Catholic deacon as well, at the very site of the tomb of our Lord Jesus. And it was truly an amazing experience.
You know, that strengthened my beliefs in Interfaith.
Yeah.
I used to get a lot of bashing.
Yeah.
And I still do. But before 9/11,
right,
and many years before, I got a lot of bashing as a Muslim,
yes,
being involved deeply and promoting Interfaith. But when I went to Jerusalem, the holy city there, and I saw the Christians here and the Muslims here and the Jews here in one building,
right,
I mean, surrounded by one wall.
Right, exactly.
Right?
You're
It's a
right.
wall
Absolutely.
around all these people.
Right.
One wall.
Yeah.
I was like, listen, I need to do more work in promoting this interfaith and this better understanding.
Absolutely.
We are one people from
Absolutely.
the same place.
Absolutely. You know, just a small little vignette for my students who came from Lynn with me one summer. I took them actually, and we studied in Haifa, which is northern Israel, Palestine.
Okay.
And I took them to the Catholic Mass, and of course the Christians prayed in Arabic. It's their language. And so when they were praying and they were addressing God, my students heard Allah.
Interesting, yes.
And you should have seen their faces, and they were like, wait, how did that happen? I thought we're in a Christian church. And I said, you are. This is an Arabic word for Allah, is God. And I said, so when Muslims say Allah, they are invoking the same God of Abraham. Duh, do you get it?
But Dr. Mark, you need to tell the media in America that, because every little thing they hear, they're like, the guy says Allah, referring to some Muslim God. And here you're saying that your students heard the Christians praying to Allah in the church.
And it wasn't until they actually experienced it.
Because Allah means the God.
Exactly. Right?
It's not the name of a God, not the name of a Muslim God. It's Allah
God.
means the God.
Right, right. Yep, the one and only true God, the God of
I
Abraham.
know time is really running out on us.
So
we gotta do a show again on this.
Absolutely.
I would love to get, because these are the kind of things in depth that the world need to know. And you know, with the ignorance in the Far East and in the Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, extreme, Palestine, Jerusalem, America, Europe. We got a lot of people who are very extreme.
And it comes out of ignorance.
Ignorance.
Yep.
And a man like you have been there, like that example. Your students are hearing Allah in a church, only to know it's the same God because they pray in Arabic.
Absolutely.
I mean, that is so modern. It's not history. It's not a book we're talking about. It's what's happening right now.
That's right. And that's why I really believe the pathway to peace, one of the pathways, there are many, but I believe one is to learn to actually be in each other's presence.
We got to promote this book, Dr. Mark.
Thank you.
I mean, feel free to come again and let's talk on some other aspects. We could just talk about the book alone.
Sure. Absolutely.
You know, today this show is about who's in America. I would like to talk a lot about some of the chapters and the areas in the book itself, the pathways to peace, because the world really needs this, a spiritual journey into a world beyond religious conflict. That's the problem. That's a big problem. Even the American election was surrounded around religion.
I know it.
I mean, a lot of talk was around religion, everything nowadays. So I think we got to come back and talk a little bit about this.
And I think religion can be such a powerful force for unity.
Of course.
We've made it into this, like, you know, powerful force for disunity.
But
and
God
for
sent His messengers and the scriptures as a form of unity, understanding, and guidance for the people in the world. It is we who have gone off the path. So we need to bring that back, as you rightly said. So we got to conclude. We have been speaking for almost 45 minutes now.
Well, thank you.
I think that you got the last word. You got the last word. We didn't get to talk about Turkey and India and all over the world, but we're going to have to come back.
We'll do this another time again. I'll tell you about India. It was truly amazing.
Yes.
You know, what if you'll give me the last word, what I truly find and is important in our current state of affairs in this country and beyond in the entire world is that the kind of intolerance and the violence that we see across the globe is rooted in ignorance, which we can overcome by teaching.
Yes.
Also rooted in fear, which we can overcome by experiencing, where we can actually live in each other's presence. You know, it's rooted in this myopic kind of my way only, rather than this understanding that maybe all of us have more in common, and at the core of who we are is this truly global family that we belong to. So I always tell my students, I grew up in a country where I was the only white boy. That's the opposite of what people experience in this country, where maybe you know, you experience the prejudice the other way. I said, I know what that feels like to actually be a minority. I'm passionate about finding ways to build bridges between our ethnic divisions. So I said, when we look at each other, don't judge by the color of your skin, the language you speak, or the religion that you follow. First find the human heart and the common ground we have, and then find those differences as blessings. Teach me how you speak. Tell me what's beautiful about your culture, and how do you understand God and worship Him? I can learn something from you.
Definitely. That's why we need to have you again on the show, Dr. Mark. Thank you very much. Viewers, it has been a pleasure, and I consider it a blessing to have Dr. Mark David Lucio with us on this show, Who is Who in America, in Alhikmat studio, on Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. And as we said earlier on, Dr. Mark is a professor of religion and philosophy at Lynn University in Boca Raton, South Florida. A man who has traveled the entire world, east, west, north, and south, with a lot of experience and knowledge of religion and people and the world, and therefore we're going to surely have him come back on the show. Stay tuned. Until then, have a nice day, and Assalamu alaikum.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
कोई कैसे समझ पाए रुतबा सब्ज़ गुंबद का
सलातुल्लाह सलामुल्लाह अला यासीन हबीबिल्लाह
नज़र में जमाले हबीबे खुदा उनकी तस्वीर सीने में मौजूद है या Rabbi, help me along my way.
What did Allah say? Tell them, don't say Amana, but say Aslamna. Iman is yet to enter your hearts. You have only accepted Islam.
Come bring your family and friends for this free night of powerfully packed talent on January 13th at 4:30 p.m. at the Baraka Grounds in Chikwanas. For more information, contact Alhikmat office at 325-8276. Food will be on sale, and of course admission is free. See you there, inshallah.
We're praying for that, right? Well, you see brothers and brothers fighting for money and property. Sisters, brothers, fathers, children. Look at our Prophet ﷺ. 1400 years ago, he said, I don't fear that you guys will do shirk, assign partners to Allah. But my fear is you will envy your brother and your sister for worldly things. When they have these worldly accomplishments, you will envy it.
Assalamu alaikum. Allah gives hikmat, wisdom, to whomsoever He wills. And whomsoever is given wisdom is certainly given a lot of good. Only the people of understanding will benefit from the reminder. Tune in to Alhikmat TV for khutbahs, lectures, and Islamic reminders. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah is the creator of different faces. Allah is the creator. Allah, Allahu, 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 Allah. Allahu, 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 Allah. All praises are due to Allahu, Allah. All praises are due to Allahu, Allah. Allahu, 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 Allah. Allahu.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If you would like to dedicate copies of one of these publications as Sadaqah Jariyah, continuous blessings for your parents or dear ones who have passed away, or fi sabilillah, in the path of Allah, please give us a call so we can place your names on these dedicated publications. You can call us at 954-986-0158, or you can also visit us at www.alhikmat.com.
Allah is the creator of different faces. Allah is the creator of all races. Allahu, 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 Allah.
Wafiq Transport Limited. Contact 715-6463 or 673-0152. Located at 86 Orenfield Road, Karapi, Chima. Services include vacuum, septic services, sock pile, sand gravel, etc., trailers, heavy equipment for sale such as flatbeds, drop decks, container trailers, and lots more.
Southern Hatcheries Limited. Suppliers of both live and processed broiler chickens. Parts available in both tray packs and case bags to suit your needs. Leg and thighs, wings, liver and gizzard. Also suppliers of both live and processed ducks. All meats strictly halal. Visit us at 440 Komodo Road, Barrackport. Or call us at 654-3938 or 361-08.
Ya Nabi, Salam Alayka, Ya Habib.
Bouncy Kings, Bouncy Castles presents brand new luxury castles for all events. You can contact us at telephone number 749-4342, or you can also email us at bouncykings1@gmail.com. A-Class Glamour presents to you wholesaling and retailing of premium lines of cosmetics for all skin types, designer jewelry, and many accessories. Brands include ColourPop, Maybelline, Revlon Professional, Urban Decay, Sephora, and many more. To get a hold of these products, you can call Sadiq Khan at 345-5824 or Amira Khan at 759-6089. You can also visit our Facebook page at A-Class Glamour to follow for newly released lines of products.
सारे जहां को दीन मिला बेदीनों ने कलमा पढ़ा ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह.
If you'd like to advertise or be a sponsor of this show, please contact Alhikmat office. Telephone number 1954-986-0158 or 1-868-325-8276. Or you can email us at alhikmat@alhikmat.com.
Truly he is the one, he has no father or son.